Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back once again, Rock the Stage Show, Sunday night, 7 p.m. And we are in for a fun-filled night. Another first for Rock the Stage. We are actually going to have another first. And it's really a first for me because I'm not a wine drinker too much. I begin to get into wine as I'm maturing and getting older and wiser. But one of the reasons that I've avoided wine is partly because there's wine snobs. Let's just admit, there's wine snobs out there. They make it boring. They make it bland. They make it uninteresting. And wine snobs have turned me away from having any interest in even learning about it or even popping a cork and having a good time. So is it possible to make wine and food fun and entertaining while you're learning? Is it possible to have a fun experience with wine and not be all stuffy and tied up? Is it possible to make wine and food a charity? Believe it or not, it's actually all possible. Yes, it is. Tonight we're going to get into it. Actually, a wine edutainer. Yes, a worldwide known wine edutainer. Michael Green is my guest tonight. He's a highly sought after event host, food and wine curator, and television personality with numerous appearances on MSNBC, CNN, The Today Show, and the Food Network. With a client list that ranges from the Fortune 500 companies to startups, his expertise and enthusiasm, well, for wine is unrivaled by really anybody else. Welcome the wine edutainer to the show today, Michael Green.
Well, thank you very much, sir, and I love the introduction.
The wine edutainer, that was part of the hook for me, was like, I can't put wine entertainment together with anything I'm thinking about because, like I said, there's snobs out there. So let me ask you, why are there wine snobs out there? Why do we have that perception or attitude?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a bottle of wine can ultimately be a passport for you into a world that transports you to a region, that transports you to a grape and the topography and all this other stuff that you can do a deep dive in. But I frankly think that wine is just fermented grape juice with an attitude. And I've strived for my life to make it really accessible and fun for people, giving people a little bit of information that they can truly use.
Well, your slogan is connecting people with wine experiences. You are all about experience, aren't you?
Yes. And actually, at the end of the day, experiences are the new economy. One of the great books that came out like 30 years ago is called The Experience Economy. And the idea is that we're not really into buying things right now. We're into buying experiences. And I find that opening up a bottle of wine, having a great meal with friends or colleagues is the ultimate connector. And I'm sad because it's early in the morning. We're taping this. I know it doesn't show until 7 o'clock at night, but I don't have any wine in front of me.
Got it covered, my friend. Got you all covered right here. So how did you get all started on this? Because I came from a Midwestern family, beer, brats, burgers, okay? Wine came late in life, very late in life. But how did you get into this?
Well, it's a very interesting story, and life can be very serendipitous. I started selling wine at the age of 6. My dad needed money to pay for college when he was a student in New York, and he started working as a stock boy at the oldest wine shop in America. It was founded in 1820. It is still around. And my dad worked there for 40 years. And I used to go to work with my dad selling wine at the age of 6, selling wine at the age of 8. By the time I was 12, I knew all the appellations in the Loire Valley in this emerging region called Napa Valley. And then after college, still selling wine there, I was given an opportunity to be an importer for the company, traveling around the world, buying wine at the age of 21 and 22. And I thought everyone did this, and they didn't. I was truly blessed, Rich. And then I came back, and a few years later, I realized that I wanted to spend my life connecting people with wine and food. And then Gourmet Magazine called me, and the Food Network called me, and I started my own business.
Wow. From age 6 all the way through.
6, I've been around it.
So, obviously, age 6, you don't know anything about the smells of bouquet.
No, of course not. I could bring up a cash register. Sometimes incorrectly, but that's what I could do. But when I was older, I did start learning on the job how to sell a bottle of wine, what makes one wine taste different from another, the classic appellations in Europe, and what grapes are used to make these wines. Because, not getting too wine geeky, but if you label a wine that comes from Europe, you legally can only use the authorized grapes to make that wine. So if we're in Napa Valley, we can plant whatever we want and call it Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Merlot. But in Europe, where the vine is so attached for centuries and centuries to the soil, to they call it terroir, that you can only legally use certain grapes to make these wines. And I had to learn that.
Wow. So, okay, you kind of touched on it, but I'm going to ask
Is this going to get complicated, Rich? Is this going to get complicated?
No, not with me.
I haven't had my 4th cup of coffee yet. Come on.
This is a really simple one for you, but there is that tension of price versus taste when it comes to wine. There's the battle of, I have to have the big expensive wine or it's not worth drinking. Mm-hmm. Is that true or false?
Well, I will say that there is no relationship between price and taste. Some of the most delicious wines are the most affordable, and there has never been a better time to be a wine consumer or a wine drinker. There are so many regions, there are so many producers, there are so many grapes that are vying for your business. It's a very, very competitive marketplace, and it's a great time to buy wine. Whether you're looking at something modest for everyday drinking at $8 or $10 a bottle, something a little special, $25 a bottle, or something $100 or $1,000 a bottle. And I love those wines when someone else buys them.
I was going to say, what's the most expensive wine you bought?
The most expensive wine that I ever had was a 1904 wine. So 1904 Chateau Lafite Rothschild. This is a wine from a very famous region in France called Bordeaux, and it's primarily made from Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and another grape called Cabernet Franc. And this wine today would sell for around $9,500.
Whoa! Did it taste good?
It tasted really good, but then I broke it down. A bottle of wine has got 25.4 ounces. Let's average it out to 25 ounces. A bottle of wine will give you 5 glasses of wine, 5-ounce glasses. A sip is 0.5 for most people. So you're getting 10 sips on that glass of wine. How much would you pay for a sip? How much would you pay for a glass? And how much would you pay for a bottle?
So that's my conundrum right there. The wine seems to go so fast. You go through a bottle of wine, boom, if you have a couple of friends over, it's gone in 1 pour, 2 pours easily. Beer, I can go grab a bunch of beer and it's going to last a lot longer. So there's that tension for me is how many pours do I want to really have and how many bottles do I want to blow through in a night?
Well, you can have me on speed dial to guide you. I'm doing an event for a charity, because some of my work is nonprofit, that wants to celebrate 40 years of this cancer foundation being in existence. So we're selecting one wine from each decade to celebrate 40 years. And I'm buying the wines very smartly. I'm finding appellations, places that are often less expensive, but still really, really good. So we can have this dramatic moment of going back 40 years, but the organization can still make money and not break
So
the bank.
let's go there, because I know you do that charity work. It's marvelous. And I kind of teased up that you can't have fun with wine. You can have charity with wine. You can have good times with it. You've been doing this for a long time, but
I used to have a lot of hair, Rich. I used to have a lot of hair. I've been doing it for a long time, yes. But basically, with my charity work, I'm a charity auctioneer and day of revenue strategist for organizations like the American Cancer Society, United Way, and Feed the Children. But then I often do donor cultivation events, which is an opportunity for an organization to get in front of people who might already know about the organization, but turn them into evangelists. And generally, we will do this with a wine and food experience.
well, also your auction, if I'm correct, at no cost to the organization.
Correct, because I've got a very unique financial model. I charge for my services, but then on the back end, I donate a live auction lot, a valuable wine tasting hosted by me that has gone for as much as $20,000, which more than offsets my fee.
Now, I also know, again, you've done Feed the Children, you've done many wonderful charities, but then you also do experiences. I think this is fascinating. A private dinner with a local chef, maybe a celebrity chef, VIP tickets to a sold-out concert or show, access to a premiere movie or film set, or a private island getaway, or just a couple of things you've done. Where did all this creativity come
Yep. Yeah. You know something, Rich? It's a living. It's a living. No, and I'm so blessed to do it. But the coolest thing that I've done in my career, one of them, is that a business colleague came to me and said, Michael, we want to celebrate our top performers, and do something very special for them. And budget is not a consideration. There will be about 150 people there. And I came back to him a week later and I said, let's take everyone to Napa Valley for a few days, or let's take people to Paris. And he called me on the phone and said, Michael, you're not thinking.
Oh my
big
goodness,
enough.
really?
You're not thinking big enough. We need to have something that when people see this invitation, this will be something that they can't miss. So I did some research and I called him back on the phone. I said, okay, this is what I recommend. There's a very upscale cruise line called Potent. It's a French cruise line that can accommodate about 200 people. I want to rent the whole ship and circumnavigate Iceland for a week and have people cross the Arctic Circle and eat whale and have cognac tastings with me at night. And it was absolutely killer, a great experience for them and for me to put this together.
If you've never been to Iceland, you need to go. It's absolutely gorgeous country. So did you jump off the ship a little bit and explore?
Absolutely. And the nice thing is that the ship was so small, we were able to circumnavigate the whole island and get into places that a larger ship couldn't do. So it worked out really well.
Now, when it comes to blending wine with auction, again, Cancer Society, children's causes, is that an easy sell, an easy hook to promote that you're blending wine with kids and some things like that?
You know, something it is, because at the end of the day, the revenue streams, the day of revenue streams for many organizations will be a live auction, a silent auction, and a pledge. And they're looking for interesting live auction items, whether it's a week at a castle in Tuscany or a wine tasting with me. So it's worked out really well.
Now, you've also done a lot of festivals, more than 50 wine festivals for over 20 years.
Yes.
You've done the Naples one, South Beach, the food festival. Which is your favorite festival that you go back and say, those are my people?
I think my favorite one is the Bermuda Culinary Festival that I happened to create many years ago. But I'm doing one in late March that I'm very excited about. It's through Southern Living magazine, very celebrated magazine, doing really well in this challenging media world. And they've engaged me for the second year to be the wine speaker and the wine facilitator at the Panama City Beach Wine and Food Festival in Florida. Wow. So that'll be fun.
Do you come up with these ideas? Do they partly have the ideas?
Generally, yes. They might have an idea, but I will sort of massage it. I'm very much I'm a wine nut. I know a lot about wine. I know a lot about food. I know a lot about travel. I don't throw it in people's faces. I truly take a very loafer or sneaker wearing approach to experience in wine, food, and travel. But thankfully, during my career, my clients really trust me, which is great because in business, it's really all about trust. And I've been very blessed to have clients that trust me and let me do what I want to do. That's best for them.
Now, I'm going to go back to your entertainment side, but you had done TV and things like that. Your persona is the fun guy. The Wine Hero was one of your brands for a while. That was who you are. But you didn't do boring videos. You did creative, fun, off the wall, crazy stuff.
You should be doing my press, Rich. You should be doing my press.
We need to talk this over because I watched your stuff and I'm like, having wine on a pizza box in the park and the girl walks away. I'm like, this is great stuff.
Well, because the guy bought a $3,000 bottle of wine. Right. And it was not a great episode for him, actually. So these are really narrative driven, and but one that's not narrative driven that you might want to show your viewers and listeners is where I put my red wine in a blender. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. I was going to ask you about it. You aerated that through the blender.
Hyper aerating, yes, really interesting trick. It's sort of like you get to David Blaine or David Copperfield your wine. It's really awesome.
But again, you're taking this, this is on YouTube, other places, but you're taking this and making wine fun even to learn about. You're not doing the whole sniff the glass and, hold it and let it go through your tongue. You're doing completely different. And it's very compelling to go, I want to learn more. The other way makes me feel like I'm being forced to learn. You're saying, come have fun with me. Let's go learn together.
Exactly. Let's share something together. Now, as it relates to tasting wine, I do recommend a methodology that people go through when they're evaluating wine. And I famously call this the Michael Green 6 S's of wine tasting.
There we go.
Swirl, smell, sip, swish, savor. And
Give that again.
See, swirl, smell, sip, swish, savor.
That's beautiful. Everyone can do that now. Everyone can copy that down, replay the show back and forth, make sure you get it right, and that's your secret sauce.
Exactly.
What's, I had a wine the other day, and there's that woody aftertaste. Is that woody aftertaste supposed to be there? Is that one of those signs that it's bland? Because to me, it was kind of like, I don't like this. But is there often that?
Well, most probably the woody taste, if indeed you got that, the smell of cedar or cigar box, that comes from some oak treatment that the wine was, subject to. But my question for you is, was the wine, did you not like it that much because it was bitter? Is that what it was?
That was probably part of it. With the woody taste and the bitterness, it wasn't quite what my palate liked.
Question for you, Rich. Do you drink coffee?
No, I do not.
Do you drink tea?
No.
Then this is not going to work. Okay. So the same component that you will find in many red wines is called tannin. And that's that feeling like a vacuum cleaner is sucking the saliva from your tongue. That's tannin. And tannin is also found in strong coffee, strong tea, and high cocoa content chocolate. But if you take a tannin and bind it with a protein, it will smooth everything out. So taking some milk, adding it to your coffee or tea will smooth it out. Taking a piece of honkin' piece of meat and serving it with your red wine will be perfect. And I tell certain people that if you really don't like the wine,
really? Milk and wine? I've never heard that.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was going to say, come on, really?
But the but the idea of adding a protein to a wine is going to change it dramatically.
So
It's going to change it.
another thing you've done, again, I'm just fascinated by what you've achieved and brought the entertainment into wine. Going back to your cruises, you've also created the Wine Lovers Play.
Yes, it's a musical that is played on several cruise ships. It's the world's first interactive wine tasting musical love story. It's interactive. The audience gets to taste through 6 different wines while they're being led through a really fun wine tasting. And we meet 2 people in their 20s who did not wine class for very different reasons, and there's a love connection, and it's nice.
So did you write that, score that? Did you collaborate?
I did. I started writing, and then I collaborated. And if I'm not a singer, I'm just a writer. But if you want me to sing a song later on, I might be.
Well, I was going to say, what don't you do now? You're a performer. You're a wine expert. You've written for Gourmet and other magazines. You've really done it all within the media area, haven't you?
Well, when you're a solopreneur, Rich, especially in this marketplace, you constantly, or at least for me, I constantly need to be reinventing, revisiting, recreating, to keep things fresh and to keep your business revenue stream on track.
So during, what was that the first time you did virtual?
Mm-hmm.
Was jumping
Yes.
on? How was that transition? Because I've known other people that did wine tasting parties and stuff. But how'd that work for you to make that jump to virtual?
It was very sad in some ways because I'm used to being in front of people, and now you're looking at a screen with 10 people or 500 people muting. They're muting, they're on, they're off, their dog is coming up, they got to pick up their kid from school, other stuff is happening. And I didn't internalize it, but yeah, it was challenging virtual. It's challenging. I let my clients know of doing something virtual.
Have you grown in that? Have you grown to say, I can do it better now and it's actually fun to do it that way?
Yes, definitely. The most challenging thing to do virtual for something like I do is to ship all the wine to everyone, making sure that it gets there in a timely fashion so they have wine for the event.
So I know this from my previous experience with another company. We did do a couple of virtual wine parties. You cannot. So we got around it
Correct.
by doing creative labeling or sending it to an adjacent state and drop it in. They go pick it up with their friend.
Yep.
Did you run into those problems too?
We did.
Why can't you ship wine to certain states? It would seem to me it's not going to blow up or anything. So why can't you do that?
Yeah. Well, after repeal of prohibition, the regulation of alcohol was given back to the states. And there are some very unique laws that govern different states. For example, in certain states, like parts of Pennsylvania, you have to buy the wines through state stores. And so the selection can often be quite limiting. But yeah, it's challenging, and basically it's always updated. So one of the places I buy my wine now is called wine.com. I do not work for this company. I'm just a customer. And it's the largest online wine retailer in the country. And they will let you know if they can ship.
Whoever thought we would have wine.com? Whoever thought that?
Exactly.
I'm curious. Because I'm thinking about your media side. I'm thinking about you're a high energy. You're a fun guy to watch on camera. I got to admit. And what's it like with other wine experts like yourself? Have they ever pushed back and said, "Can you just tone it down? We're doing wine where you're doing splash and fun and other things."
Well, I was doing an event about a month ago. And part of my work there was to moderate certain panels. And I pulled the panelists aside before and I said, here's the skinny. I'm here to make you look good, so trust me. Number two, let's not get too wine geeky. It's sunny out. The audience will have been drinking for several hours. Let's give them bits of information. And also, if there is a wine term that you use, don't know, I will stop and define that term for the audience so they don't feel alienated when you're talking about tartaric acid or trellising systems or clones. So, but I think people, they either get my style or they don't. If they're looking for more of a snooty, more traditional wine person, I'm really not that person, and that's fine.
But that's also the differentiator. And we're all looking, like you said, as long as
exactly, differentiate. Exactly.
And going, wait, this guy's a little bit off kilter like I am. I want this guy. This probably got to draw a lot of attention that you can get any other way, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, my presentation style is very theatrical, but it's not clown-like. No. It's really grounded in, I think, authenticity, humor, connection, making people smarter in a way that is not overly didactic. We're not having fun with
Was that something you intentionally did, or is that something you stumbled on, that this is the way I can do this?
I stumbled upon it. After college, my dad would send me to wine classes to learn more. And I would come back and I'd say, Dad, I learned so much, but the person who was leading the class sucked all the life out of what wine really is. And I think I can do it differently and better. And when I was 23,
how did that go over? Because then you probably got that was your playground, to cut your teeth and experiment with that new persona, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I basically, if something didn't work, I would shift something up. If someone asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to, I would get the answer for the next class. So it worked really well. And I'm also now an adjunct professor at the Culinary Institute of America, which is lovely, one of the great cooking schools in the country, if not the world. And they've got a great wine program. So I'm up there teaching a few times.
So again, you've done the television shows, the food, you've done the things that you're mentioning. What's your biggest personal achievement? You can sit back and say, I love what I do, but oh my gosh, I got to do this.
I think my family. I'm very close with my family, and I'd like to shift it away from business for a second. I'm very close to my family and my other half, and spending time with them, supporting them, that's been a major achievement.
I don't
know if that's what you're looking for, but it's true. Because family first, Rich, family first.
You just hit it on the nail. So I'm glad that you hung your hat on that, because yes, you could have gone business, but the fact is the man behind Michael has a family that he cares and loves while he gets to be this great, gregarious guy. Family first is it. So I'm glad that you pulled that in, because people are not looking and listening to that when they need to be looking and listening for that.
Getting older, and I'm thinking of what the next chapter is going to be. It's going to be in the same wheelhouse, but how to, again, as I was saying earlier, how do I reinvent? How do I create? And I'm working on some very exciting projects right now that I'm hopeful that some of them will take hold.
Well, so it sounds like you're like me. You're creative. How does the business side work? Businessman, or is that one of those things that you need help with because you're the creative genius?
An accountant gave me some valuable information many, many years ago that I try to put into practice. She said to me, Michael, it's not only about how much money you're making, it's about how long it takes you to make this money. So certain times I do not budget because I basically want to over deliver take me. So ultimately I'm making less money on it. And at the end of the day, making money is not a bad thing. Confucius says, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I love what I do, but there are certain days that I am doing the hustle and I am working.
It sounds like we're cut from the very same cloth. It really is a joy in what we do.
Something. I'm a New Yorker. You're based in the D.C. area. I went to school in Virginia. So we should get a powwow.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
A state of the union.
So what do you love the most about your work? We've covered a lot of ground, but what's the thing that really just lights your fire and you love the most about doing this for all the many years?
I like having that moment, that people have this moment that they'll remember for a long time. Whether it's me talking about how I almost lost my job at Gourmet Magazine, 2 weeks in working with them, very a blender, whether it's making them smarter if they want to spend $100 on a bottle of wine, how they can find something very, very similar for a fraction of that price. So when that light bulb goes off and someone says, I get it, I appreciate what you're sharing, that's what gives me pleasure. That's what really gives me pleasure.
So, Michael, I'm going to bring up your website here, which you got to go check out this website. He's a celebrity star. He actually looks like a star. And we're talking about wine. What are they going to find when they hit the QR code and go there?
They'll find some crazy pictures of me. They'll find some of the experiences that I've done. They'll find many of the programs that I offer, including Fast Track to Wine Expertise, Great Wines by Great Women, Le Tour de France, Bourbon in a Bottle, all different types of things, as well as testimonials and my contact information.
We'll definitely be dropping that in the show notes and everything else. And then, of course, let's go to your charity, because that is, during our pre-call, you and I got together, and your charity sounds so rich, so you've got a purpose, and it's a personal passion for you, it sounds like, to do these. This is not just a moneymaker for you. You really love giving back, don't you?
I do. And again, with the financial model that I have, where I'm donating a wine tasting as a live auction item, even though it's taken me a lot more time and money to facilitate and get the wines and do the wine tasting, it's very satisfying for me to, in my own way, to pay it forward. But viewers, I think companies could be doing a much better job at experiential marketing, to really, when they want to get in touch with clients, to do something in a much more creative and memorable way.
100%. I'm working with a person out of Canada who's all about experiential events. And we have meetings and discussions of making things more show, paying their $50 or whatever, and going home and saying, wow, that was a great 2 hours wasted on my life. People want to go home and go, I had an encounter. I had a feeling. Something moved me. So how do you help people do that?
Well, it really starts with them some due diligence, what their goals are. Obviously, they presumably want to make more money and drive new customers, finding out if the event is for existing clients or if it's part of a conference. Where do we take them? Where do we take them? I'll give you one interesting story. When I started my business, a client called me, big bank. They said, Michael, we want to book a meal for 12 people at Charlie Trotter's. No longer in existence, but it's was one of the top restaurants in America. And we've got people flying in from around the world. And I said, I wouldn't do that. And they said, Michael, it's one of the best restaurants in the world. And I said, I wouldn't do that. And I'll explain why. And I'll come back with another idea. Can we set up a call in 2 days? So here's the skinny. These people will be on flights for a long time. We want them to check into the hotel, put on a suit, and then be subjected to a 4-hour meal. I don't think they really want to do that. They'll pretend to like it. Idea. I want to take these people on the ultimate hot dog tour. Let me rent a van. Let me put some champagne on the van. I love the hot dog scene in Chicago. Great scene. Everyone gets on the bus. They can wear shorts, T-shirts, but that everyone loves, or jeans. And then basically at each stop, they get off the. It was something so terribly memorable, and I love doing that project.
The best burger or brat, actually the best brat in all of baseball is at Wrigley Field. And that's part of the taste testing experience, man. I've been around baseball diamonds, so I've tasted brats everywhere I go. It's so
right.
That is part of it. It's a sensory experience. You're right. Just another dinner, another coffee is not going to cut it anymore. The sensory, physical, get out of your chair, go do something. But that wall of too much investment, too much money.
Yes.
But once they do it, they can't go back the other way, can they?
Well, and also, they saved thousands and thousands of dollars doing my hot dog tour. So ultimately, it's not only about how much money you spend, it's how you spend it and where you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck. So now I offer up an ultimate soup dumpling tour in New York City. I offer a tour of Bleecker Street, a very eating different foods and all that good stuff.
So you tease it up a little bit. What is next for Michael Green?
Well, the next for Michael Green is about 12 years ago, I wrote a prohibition play. It's not a musical, it's a play. It's a coming-of-age story of an 18-year-old kid who gets mixed up in the mob delivering hooch at speakeasies, and he goes this one very elegant speakeasy, sort of like the 21 Club, taken under the wing of the proprietor of the speakeasy, and he becomes one of the most famous bartenders in America after Prohibition is repealed. And it's called The Secret Manuscript. And it's going into production with a table reading at the end of this month. So I'm very excited.
Wonderful. Please let us know how that continues to roll, and we'll let our people know about it.
Thank you. Thank you. You've been so lovely, Rich, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
This is a blast. This is my joy. About what you want to do for people. Part of my pledge is I want to help other people shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate your brand. So it's not only let's have a good conversation. I want you to outshine me. I want you to be the star that you are. And I have fun asking these questions and pulling it out and seeing where the story goes. So every time I do this, Michael, it's a blast to get to know people deeper and deeper. So thank you.
Nice. Well, thank you so much again. I hope we glass of wine that's not woody. I'll make sure the wine's not woody.
I love it. Michael Green, thank you for being on the Rock the Stage show.
All righty, Rich. Thanks very much.
Michael Green, again, he's the wine edutainer, and you got a full glimpse of what he's doing. And I do want to go back to one thing he said at the end. Not about the wine, not about all the other stuff, but about the fact of experiential things. We are craving for relationship and craving for experience more and more. We're isolated since COVID. We're isolated from work, from our family. I think he kind of threw you a light challenge. Go have experience. Go have fun. Get back out there, meet people, and intentionally do something that you're all going to remember and laugh about for years and years to come. Hey, that's going to do it for this edition of Rock the Stage Show. I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Come on back next week. We'll have another exciting conversation with you don't know who, but it's always going to be a good time. See you back here for another edition of Rock the Stage, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.